Hey, I'm Greg, and this is my media ethics final project, the presentation. And today we are talking about the unethical digital altered images of the Seattle protest by me, Greg Herrera. So let's get started. You're new. Okay. All right, so here's what the problem occurrence was. A Fox News station was found to have posted an image of a masked gunman in Seattle's Free Cap Hill area protest on June 8th. The image was found to be altered from separate images, with the gunman coming from Getty Images a week prior. As you can see here, the gunman is here on the photo, and you can see clearly there's a little tiny flat line where he is. We could definitely tell there's been some editing within the photo itself. So, so what happened from then? So then, the Seattle Times, or I think the Seattle Worker, caught note of this event. They reported it to multiple news outlets. And Fox News was urged to reply to this. So this came the apology from Fox News. Editors noted that it claimed that they did not clearly delineate the photo's illustrations. Instead, they referred to them as a collage and removed the images a week after the publication. And interestingly enough, the collage was in terms of which the photos were put together, but not in an intentional way, or at least did not really talk much about the delineation between the two slides. So, what's the ethical issue within this? Well, would be alteration. When an image is altered, it's alerted, should be altered, it changes the original context of the image, and it provides a different perspective to the set visual. It can positively or negatively change the public's perception of the image. As you can see here on the right, we have the top is the original image from Getty Images from a protest prior, and the one below is the one that was on publication. And as you can tell, the image is exactly the same figure with the same green mask and the same rifle. The difference is instead of in front of a car, he's in front of a free cap hill. So when taking this, you could definitely misinterpret the image without having reference to the initial image from Getty Images. You can probably assume this is a violent protest, or something using the use of a rifle instead can definitely alter the perception of the Cap Hill protest. It can lead to the viewers to probably assume that there's violent tendencies, there's more higher stake danger crime associated with Cap Hill, and can even change the perspective of, I guess, public within Seattle to assume that this did initially happen. So going forward, another broader ethical issue is the line. Also, belief of violent tendencies within of protest and inclusion of armed figures in the event, and leading away from the correct apprehension of the reality of the protests. As I said prior, the this was intentionally um, altered and concurred to be lying, and the inclusion of the armed figures in the event lied to stretch more of a to lead away the reality of what actually happened within the protest. And what actually happened was not, in fact, a gunman was at the area. Instead, it was separate events from separate perspectives. All right, so an ethical option choices for the use of images in news media. Number one is using images taken directly from the occurrence, so another kind of image would have been better used. Lack of alteration for the images is another one we could really greatly use. Fact checking the information is great, especially when you are a news media and credibility and reliability is your forte. And avoidance of bias in images instead can help out in the insurance of truth. So why does this matter? A news source must provide accurate info within as to be known as a reliable and reputable source. Images provide more information in a shorter time than words, so of course they're more likely to be quickly digested and used within media and topics. They can misinform the public, which is very bad, especially if you want to be a reputable news source, and create unjust biases and perceptions. And in this case, perceptions could definitely have been altered if you were unaware of the true occurrence of the event. And if you receive an image, you were sure to have a different perception or, I guess, bias. And you were to assume probably that this is violent people, violent tendencies, and the escalation of this event was definitely different. Of course, this is not, in fact, what happened, and the alteration of this photo of two different photos has definitely changed the overall perception. Okay, information ethics, a profession seeks the truth. So this is what I found when went for the book, is lying is a way to get and maintain power. Those in positions of power often believe that they have the right to lie because they have a greater than ordinary understanding of what is at stake. Another one I found was they approved lying if it would save a life to prevent injury or to a source, page 45. And them seeing is believing become the oral concept of truth, all of which does, in fact, relevancy to our topic here as start at the bottom, just seen as believing becomes the oral truth. And as today in the digital age, the seeing the event tends to put a whole lot more than 1,000 words for the viewer and providing an image that could easily be digested through the eyes can easily affect people's information, especially if you're an elderly who tends to not be completely aware of how to spot inaccurate media and information. And in the course of lying, it would be truthful or it would be okay to lie if it's to save a life or to prevent injury to a source. But of course, in this instance, there's no danger to the source or any other person of interest. So this could not have been applicable. And instead, I'd like to refer back to that line is to get and maintain power, and it's been as this is from Fox News, and they're haven't quite known to be a biased news network. This is quite relevant to it, as those positions in power often believe they have the right to lie because they have the greater than ordinary understanding of what is at stake. And of course, to their advantage, doing so would in turn put the public perception and more cause and more dehumanization of the actual event of protest. Okay, so here's the ethical news values of truth that are affected within this. So the accuracy was affected in this. For image include false images and provide frank biases. Diversity unfairly perceive the protesters as violent and dangerous individuals. And community focused on generating profit and viewership on, I should say the um on the clicking of the image of the gunman and the showing. And equity, lack of justice in treating the sources and subjects equally, in which the protesters in this were not treated equally, in which they have been chosen as a topic to be generous and tactic. All right, and back to the truth of objectivity. The truth of the investigation inquiring images and who did the publishing. The version of the truth in which the investigators real fact recognition. And I can put this down. Move. Pursuing the accuracy and inclusion of contrary voices, especially in such in which this is relevant to Fox News, where they pursued one side of the story and instead chose to not listen to contrary voices, which would have been a whole lot more of interesting dialogue instead creating false conclusions within the story. So going back to all this thought, Fox News has definitely ensured that they have made an accurate accusation and image, as this one here, taken from Getty Images prior, and instead altered it to create the illusion and assumption that this free capital protest event was in fact a dangerous and hostile event that could have harmed public when in case it was not, has altered perception and the ethics of which are not at all um, are not at all used, especially in the news network, whereas they fabricated the image to gauge a perception of their viewers. And thank you so much for watching my presentation. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.